Hello there, and welcome back to TerraFirmaCraft HardRock. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We are about to craft something extremely useful. Before we do though, I have these primitive glass panes. These are needed for a lot of things, including the greenhouse walls from my life. And the way you make them is you have to melt sand in your forge and cast them into ingot molds. And you get one pane per ingot mold, and you get one... Do I have a piece of sand here? Yes. You get 100 millibuckets of glass per sand block, so that's one glass pane per sand. What we need to do is we need to do this and make 2 backpack tanks. We're going to do this with 3 silk to make a sleeping bag. Now we can use this to sleep while out in the wild or whatever. But we need it as part of the backpack. We go here, we put that there, those there, leather all around it, and then a chest in the center. We make that a standard traveler's backpack. We open up our inventory, go to the screen with the crafting grid, click on the little icon up here. We open up our curio slots, and we can put the backpack in our backpack slot. Same way if you are putting a barrel on your back or a large vessel. And by pressing K, we can open up our backpack. This backpack has 4 buckets worth of water space. And I noticed while you can fill them with a wooden bucket, you cannot withdraw with the wooden bucket, but you can withdraw with a flask. I am not sure if I can withdraw with a jug. Let's try. Yes, you can. So what I'm going to do is grab this. We're going to grab 1 bucket of boiled water, toss it into our backpack. And now while we're out exploring, we can refill our jug from our backpack and thereby have water with us as we travel. It also has a crafting grid over here, but it doesn't need to be a crafting grid. You can remove it and just have it as extra inventory space. So that's going to be incredibly useful for us as we go out exploring. Since I need to go out and find Kaolinite, I always say it wrong, Kaolinite, which can only be found in sedimentary rocks, shale, claystone, limestone, conglomerate, dolomite, chert, and chalk, none of which is anywhere near us. So we have to go explore a lot to find that. And we need to find some graphite, which does spawn in schist, which is, again, way to the north. All the way up here. So we're going to have to go exploring quite a bit to find what we're looking for. And hopefully we will find it. But what I've done is I have made a hopper for up here so I can load up stuff into the millstone. I have the millstone area chunk loaded. Do that by shift left click force loads it, shift right click unforce loads it. So now our millstone is force loaded. I did not do that right. So now we can place the hopper on here and it will cycle through and dump everything in, so we can automate this process a little bit. And since it's force loaded, it will run while we're gone. As a side note, this does absolutely explode, but it needs to reach a certain, a certain threshold of dust. So we don't have enough dust now for it to explode, but I'll leave this torch lit down here. Eventually there will be enough and it will explode. And now that I have finished doing that, I think it's time we go out exploring. I don't yet have an animal I can ride, but if I leave now, I won't be able to get this horse up to full familiarity before it grows up. So that's a bit of a downside, but well, we'll make do. Oh wait, I have a lead, don't I? I should bring that with me just in case I find an animal I want to bring back. We're off. We need to find graphite, kaolinite. We need to find sand. I want to find a... That's Weird. Oh, okay. I've been playing on the server, and it looks like for some reason I'm seeing the different players of the server on my world map. This is my single player world, by the way. Sorry, I need to find sand. I need to find a Badlands so I can get some sandstone, because I found red, white, and orange sandstone would probably go really well for what I want to build over here. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. And there was something else, and I've completely forgotten what it is, so we're not going to worry about it for now. I'll remember as I explore. Well, I'm finally back in game. No thanks to Microsoft servers being down for a long time. But look what I found. Kaolinite. Or Kaolinite, or however I say it. This is one of the two things we're looking for. Now I just got to figure out roughly where the heart of this is without finding any animals over here who want to eat me. And there's a kid. Oh, this is perfect. Look at that. Oh, this is so nice. Okay, one block will give me one kaolinite, and each of these will grind down into 5. You need 4 per fire clay. We need 5 fire clay for our crucible. We're going to need a lot of fire clay for our blast furnace, which we don't have yet, but we might as well collect extra fire clay, kaolinite now, so we don't have to worry about it later. We're going to want 2 mold tables. These from casting with channels, and those take kaolinite, so we need 5 per mold channel. We're going to want the channels. Takes 5 to make 4. So right there, that's 20 fire clay. And we're going to want extra, like I said. We're going to want to make fire clay bricks in the future. There's some other stuff around there I can make with fire clay. I can make fire clay ingots, both we use to mold the channels. The molds won't break in the channels, although I may have found a bug where if you break the channel with a mold in it, the mold gets deleted. So yeah, don't do that. And then we're going to need fire clay bricks to make the fire bricks to make make a lot of stuff. This is a big deposit, which is very good. So let's grab, I'm going to grab an entire stack, I think. Ooh, there's borax here too. What can I use borax for? Oh, borax is flux. Okay, that's good to know. Right, so I'm going to grab a stack of this, and then I'm going to keep looking for graphite. We're going to need a lot of that too. Probably at least a whole stack, and I'm saying 64 stack, not 32 stack. I'm going to show you a trick that is insanely useful. You see all these marks on my map? Well, those are all resource deposits. Only I haven't actually gone to all of them. You see on the map, you can see, if you zoom in, different colors. And if you highlight over them, you'll see at the bottom of the screen, and I'll zoom in so you can actually see what it says. It tells you what the item is on the ground. Here we have loose limestone rock. These little orange things, those are pumpkins. This over here, well, that's some burrows. That right there, that's graphite. So now we found our graphite. It's just a little ways away from me over that way. We can go grab it, and yeah, we're going to have to go back home so we could dump off our inventory, since our inventory is full now. But then once we do that, we can come back out, grab a whole ton of bismuthinite, and sorry for the choppiness. The further you explore in TerraFirmaCraft, the more choppy the world gets. When we go back and I restart the game, it will be much better. Ooh, there's a cow out here. Okay, this looks like a fairly central location for all the graphite. So let's try this again. And ladders this time. There we go. Found the graphite. So just like the just like my inability to speak, we're going to want to collect about a stack's worth of this. So we're going to be dumping pretty much everything I don't think I really need to bring home with me. But we're going to try, yep, we're going to try to collect 64 of these. And then, like I said, we can get started on some fun stuff. All right, so I want to put a... Well, I'm going to need to put some supports in here. And we don't want anything crashing down on us. So we're going to put 2 there. We're going to clear a spot here. Put 2 down there. Now, we can't access the ladder anymore. But now we can expand out 2 blocks this way. And then 2 blocks that way. Move this supports over that way. Put some supports this way. And then we'll have created a safety box down here that we can start mining in. And now, because we have the supports here and there, we can make ourselves some quartzite cobble quickly. Stack it right here. It won't collapse because of the supports. Put our ladders on it. And go up, chop down some more wood, and then get more supports. Well, we're finally home, and I have to literally go right back out to get the bismuthinite we left behind because we were out of inventory space. But before that, let's craft up a couple new storage drawers. 4 2x2 storage drawers to be exact. And I do not want to put the storage drawers in the storage drawer. There we go. So that gives us plenty of storage room. We can put our graphite in. And I already put 1 stack of graphite and 1 stack of kaolite into our millstone. So that's grinding down now. And while we're doing that, we can start putting some of our other stuff. Like, let's put the charcoal in there. And these will all be moved because right now, well, it's not yet tornado season. Oh, wow, there's a lot of pollution up there, isn't there? I did not realize just how much pollution was over there. What was I going to say? Right, we're not quite in tornado season, but when we are, this all this can be torn away. So we're just going to be doing this for now, for temporarily. When we get the house started, we'll set up a storage room, and then we'll have a proper storage room. That's a little bits away. Now we only have 4 pellets of bismuthinite. And that's a problem because we need, should I say, to use bismuth bronze to make our bloomery door. The bloomery door takes 8 double sheets, which is 4 ingots per sheet. That's 32 ingots, which is why we went and got the kaolinite, so we can make fire clay and have a little bit of an easier time dealing with all that. Also got a ton of ore that can be crushed down into iron. I could double this, so that's 3.2, that's 3.2, that's 3.2, 3, 6, 9, 12. Oh, that's... We're going to be a little bit short from being able to make a anvil, I think. But there's a little bit of iron right over there we can go collect. And then we can make an iron anvil as soon as we have the bloomery door set up. We do have to still build the bloomery. So, you know, one thing at a time. Let's go check on the grindstone. See how much is done. Oh, I just remembered. We can't grind down the graphite yet. The kaolinite, that we just grind straight down. The graphite has to be done like ores. So we have to crush it with a hammer, wash it in a sluice, grind it in the millstone, and then wash it again. Well, that means I'm going to have to step away while this runs. Having these close together makes it so much easier. And once we get more into Create and we can actually build a fan, washing becomes much faster, even more faster. And I made a mistake last episode. You need to have the composters with a space apart, otherwise they take longer. And in this pack, at least, they take 4 days. So in 4 days, I will now have my first set of compost. which we can apply to our farms if we wanted to, or we could just save them up for later. I got a little too close to the dust. I'm waiting for the next day so I can finish feeding my donkey so they'll be, its familiarity won't drop. And I was just exploring and I'm like, I wonder how much dust is down here. Well, enough to make it explode. Once it hits a critical mass, it will explode. And apparently standing right here when there's dust below you is enough to reach critical mass. But our graphite's almost done. Well, with this phase, and then we have to wash it again. And then we can make our not kiln. And then we can make our crucible and all the stuff I want to make with it. Yeah, I think we're gonna be good on bismuth for a while with all this. And with this mine we can always come back to. So I'm gonna head back. We need to start processing all this bismuth down into usable form. And we will make our crucible and casting channels. And then maybe, depending on how long it takes, also make iron anvil today. We'll see. Alright, I've spent a long time processing everything down. So let's make the fire clay and then the bloomery door. That gets us 16 fire clay. We need a bit more than that. I wanted 20. There we go. And now, same as before. That gives us our crucible. That's one mold. Or table mold. That's a second. Right, okay, let's see if I could remember this one. There we go. And because we have the bellows, we can fire all these clay items now. Nice and easy. Get that done. Toss those back in. Pull those out. And we can actually pull these out too, because they're not going to be really necessary. We're not going to be using these slots for anything other than firing clay in the future, really. As soon as the crucible is done, we can toss it right there. And now life just became infinitely easier. This isn't exactly a pretty setup, but it'll make do for now. None of these setups are permanent. So don't worry about it too much. Now, I threw everything in my backpack. Not everything. We're going to take the copper anvil that we made last time. Copper anvils, of course, anvils take no durability damage. So this is still worth the full 14 ingots of copper. We can toss that into here, along with the rest of that copper, and the zinc, and then the bismuthinite. Melt it all down, alloy it into bronze, bismuth bronze, and cast it in these, cast them into the table molds. We can then weld them together. I'm going to need to make more flux, I just realized. Weld them together. Make the double doors. Not double doors, just make the doors. How's this doing? Okay, so some of the zinc and some of the copper is melted. We're going to toss a little more zinc in. This anvil is going to take a while because, well, as I've mentioned before, items heat up based on how much metal is in them. This is 14 ingots worth of metal, so it takes, well, more than 14 times as long to heat up as one of these briquettes. And because it's bismuth, they melt almost instantly. Now, right now it says unknown alloy. This is the cool thing about the crucible. It shows you or what metals are in the crucible and their percentages. You can tweak how much is in it until you get the right ratio and can turn it from an unknown alloy into a proper alloy. So once the anvil is done melting, it will be bismuth bronze. I do have to keep feeding this. And what I could do is if I use the bellows, the temperature will go up, which will speed up the process a bit. It speeds up the process a lot more for different items. For the anvil, it's not going to speed up nearly as much because it is so big. I set up an automated explosion system over here for the dust. And it's very simple. I have a torch right there. I moved it from over here. I put it right there. So when this fills up with just enough dust, it will hit the torch, ignite, and blow up all the dust in here. And that's how we automate getting rid of dust. In the meantime, I have prepared a few bricks because we're going to need bricks to make the blast bellows. I always want to say blast furnace. So we need an area kind of like this. And then I always, well, I got that there. I don't think we need anything on the back. I think these are really just the important bits. Of course, we need to get to the top, so we're going to want to make a few ladders quickly. Because you need to throw the ingots into there, or at least the items you want to turn into iron into there. And when it snows, not that we have to worry about snow right now, snow can mess up your bloomery. If you got the bloomery running and snow accumulates inside, it will stop the bloomery. So what you could do is put a trapdoor the block above. So do I have an extra trapdoor I can show you with? I do not, but we can make pretend. If we put a trapdoor where this block is, so bottom side of this block, that will, one, protect any snow or debris from falling inside the bloomery, but also allow pollution to exit, and the bloomery will count as being complete. So as soon as this is done, and it's getting closer, but it's still going to be a little bit, we'll cast out everything, forge them together, weld them together, and then make our door, and then make some iron. Because I have almost everything I need to make 16 ingots of iron. And this is just about done. And we'll see the unknown convert straight over to bismuth bronze. So, now that we have this full of bronze, we can click this with the right click button and it will start to fill the ingot molds with the alloy, and it will fill each mold with 100. So we had 3.2, it is now down to 3 buckets. These take a moment. When they cool, we can then weld them together. We could pull the ingot mold out by shift right clicking onto the mold table and then remove the ingot, but there's a chance of breaking if we do that. If we just let them cool in the table, we can withdraw them without removing the mold, which means the mold won't break. Additionally, when we remove them straight from the mold like this, they will remove at max temperature, which means we can do this real quick. Oh, you want to click that so it starts casting again, and then we want to do any hit, any hit, any hit. Alright, that took longer than I liked. So now we have our first bismuth bronze sheet. We need to wait for these two to finish up, pull them out, do the same thing, and then heat them back up because one of these is going to be too cold. Weld them together again, and that's going to be the first of the 8 double sheets that we need to make the bloomery door. You can automate this in the future by putting a hopper under each of these mold tables. I'm stuck. Yep, there we go. I accidentally pulled out the mold. Now these have cooled down just a little bit. Toss them back in there. Pull that back out. Can weld. Toss them both on. Weld it. That's a double plate. And we can just stick it in here for now. And we're just going to keep repeating this. As I was saying, you can stick a hopper under these, and when they cool, the hopper will pull them out. So you can automate pulling out ingots or whatever you're casting if you don't need to heat them right up right away. Since we are going straight into making the double sheets and whatnot, there's no point in pulling them out automatically. All right, so we'll be back when I have all 8 of these done. All right, and these are the last 2 of this. Toss that one in here just to heat it back up. That's our Bloomery door. Place it right there. And now we have a Bloomery. Now then, next, I want to make 6 of these. That's 5. That's 6. Now, I don't know if this is going to work, so we're going to find something out in a moment. We have 2 different types of iron here. We have limonite and hematite. I don't know if they stack. Now, this is the least efficient way to do this. We're going to want 20 charcoal. Toss that all in. And I think it worked. Okay, awesome. That worked. So that will make 16 ingots of iron. We gotta hold down our fire starter. Once we get a flint and steel, it'll be much easier. All right, so this will produce 16 raw iron bloom. We then work the raw iron bloom on our anvil into refined bloom and then wrought iron. We then have to combine 14 of those ingots together to make our iron anvil. We can then get rid of this anvil. And then we can use the last 2 ingots to make a saw. Because this mechanical saw from Create makes life infinitely easier. The saw, we have to make a gearbox. Gearbox requires an andesite casing on wood and then a cog. Yeah, a small gear placed on the andesite casing turned into a gearbox, and then we apply the saw blade, which we make with a double raw iron ingot. To that turns into the mechanical saw. We can then either hook it up over there to the windmill, or I can make a crank and just do it individually. But then we'll be able to turn 1 log instead of into 2 supports on the chopping block. We could turn it into 3, and then instead of turning 1 support into 2 planks, we can turn the 1 support into 10 planks. We're going to reduce the amount of lumber we need substantially with this next upgrade. So once this is done, we'll move on to the anvil, making the saw, and then we'll see how much time we have left. Everything's exploding around me. That was my automated exploder again. It's going off like every 10 minutes. And it's efficient. I don't have to worry about dust collecting in here anymore. And because we have all the chunks claimed, I don't have to worry about any of my stuff breaking also. And side note, andesite stones can be crushed into andesite rock powder, which can be washed and give you a 3% chance of getting copper, 1% chance of getting, that's zinc, right? Valerite, zinc, yep. Less than 1% chance of gold and less than 1% chance of silver. So since this is chunk loaded and I have nothing else to process at the moment, I'm just going to be processing andesite rocks. And get a little extra powder and whatnot so I don't waste uptime. And any moment now, Bloomery is complete. Then you're left with this raw iron bloom block. Every time you break it, you get 1 raw bloom. You can toss 2 on the anvil. Doesn't really matter. Just gotta make sure your hammer is in your correct hand. And they cool down, so we're going to toss those in there. This one, because it's doubling it already, is ready to go in there. But the rest of these have already cooled down to the point where we're going to have to be tossing them into the crucible to keep them hot so we can work them. So I'm just going to mine all the rest of them. Yep, can't even work these anymore. So we're going to relight the crucible, and now the crucible, if we don't use the bellows, will not get hot enough to melt the iron. So we can kind of forget about them. Just put them on the back burner of our mind and just continue working 2 at a time. Like I said, we want to get enough to make our iron anvil, because once we have the iron anvil, we can make iron tools. I have made an andesite casing. I have just about everything here for the crank. So let's make the crank. Oh, you know what? I think I need it to be a cog. Yes, that's the hand crank. And then we should be able to just click this on. That makes it a gearbox. All right. And so we can click the saw onto this once the gearbox is done, and once the saw is done, and have a saw. And that's the last of the iron. And then we can pull these out. Turn that off. Double ingot, saw blade, third to last, second to last, both need to be draws, bend last. No, that's not good enough. Draw, draw, bend. There we go. That's a saw blade. Stick that in our crafting grid to turn it into the other version of a saw blade. Click it on. Now we have a mechanical saw. We can pick that up. Grab our crank. That's off. Good. Oh, let's grab some lumber so you can actually see what's going on. Let's grab 1 log. I'm going to do it over here, so any dust goes down there. So we can put the crank on there. Toss the log up there. Start cranking. We get 3 supports and 2 sawdust. We throw the supports back up there and crank again. Each time through, we'll do 1 support. Does produce dust that would go down there. Now we have an additional 30 lumber as opposed to the 4 lumber we would normally get from 1 log. And we've got a bunch of sawdust. The sawdust can be turned into a dye base, can be used as flooring, fiberboard, can be heated into wood ash, which is a fertilizer, can be used to make paper mulch, paper pulp, which is used to make paper. Since the other way you make paper is papyrus, and getting your hands on papyrus will require traveling all the way down to the jungle area. Before we finish up for today's episode, let's cover two more important topics. We got some more leather, so let's turn these into leather sheets. We need one set of leather sheets. We need to turn 2 of those into leather strips. We're going to need more than 2 leather strips, which means we need to make a little more leather sheets. And so if we combined 2 leather sheets with 4 leather strips and 4 string, we can make 2 leather flask sides. We can then go over here, put our 2 leather flask sides in a bladder, 2 string, and our knife, and now we have our leather flask. The leather flask will hold 5 drinks worth of water, or any fluid for that matter. I can grab 5 drinks worth of beer or whiskey, which, by the way, we're making both whiskey and beer. That timer reset. We now have a water flask which has 100 durability, so we can take 100 drinks from it before it becomes broken. And when it becomes broken, we can repair it with a bladder. Broken plus bladder equals unbroken. So this is much better. It gets us a lot more fluid, and we can actually fill and remove water from our backpack using the flask. So we can travel with water on us, get a lot more drinks than just the one jug, and we don't have to worry about the jug breaking on us randomly while drinking. Now, if you notice my backpack, we have aqueducts. Let's make a few of these. In 1.18's TerraFirmaCraft, these can only transfer water horizontally. Now, that's not to say in 1.20 they can transport any other way, but in 1.20, TerraFirmaCraft natively will have a pump, so you can pump water up and then use the aqueduct. What we can do is do something like this. This will fill with water. It will carry the source block, so if we remove this block here, that will become a source block, or at least a temporary source block. Because if we remove this one, the water dries up, and so does that. So we can use aqueducts to transfer water, and that will hydrate the soil as we go. Let's put this one back. You see, this is now up to 98% hydration, which means that you can water your crops further away from a water source by transferring the water using an aqueduct, because you cannot move water sources. Now, we do have quite a few different pumps available in this mod pack, such as the Create Mechanical Pump, which is actually not that hard to make. And we could then pump water up from there to, say, up here, and have it dump into an aqueduct and water all of our crops up here. Right now, what I could do is, if I found a water source above ground, I could transfer the water across to my base. The problem is, water, like the river over there and the ocean back there, only generate at the same Y level. I think it's Y72. So you will not find water up on a mountain that you can transfer down, at least not drinkable water. You can find spring water in a mountain and transfer the spring water down, but you can't drink spring water. You can, of course, sit in the spring water to warm up and to heal yourself, but yeah, you can't drink it. And I don't think it really works for watering crops either, so that's kind of a moot point. But this is how you make aqueducts. You can chain them together. You can put one lower, and provided you do it correctly, unlike what I did here, the water will dump down. So you can actually lower the level at which the water is at. Like I said, useful for watering crops or providing water to your greenhouse when you eventually get a greenhouse set up. And if you have a pump, then you could bring the water up, but otherwise you have to do everything at sea level. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for today. We have finally reached the Iron Age. We can start making iron tools in the future. But until then, Thank you for joining me today. I hope you've had a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Later!